Inside my house, I moved in because the price was ridiculously low, and since I'm a locksmith by trade I didn't mind the odd detail about the door not having a lock. The landlord never explained why they used a heavy object behind the door instead. I figured I could install the lock myself, so I didn't press him for an answer. I was in a hurry to save rent and I wanted to settle in quickly. The house itself looked normal, one story, small yard, a few trees in the back, but I noticed right away that it was empty in some unpleasant way, as if it hadn't been lived in for a while. I saw a few scratches on the floor and the walls had marks where doorknobs would normally rub. At first I didn't mind. I assumed the previous tenants were just rude to the place. I didn't expect anything unusual. I had brand new locks installed. On the first night I checked every door, made sure the key worked, then locked everything back and went to sleep. That was the beginning of something I still can't fully explain. When I woke up the next morning, my front door was wide open, my bedroom door was open, my kitchen door and the back door, all unlocked. The locks weren't broken, nothing had been broken. It was as if I had left them unlocked on purpose. I knew that couldn't have happened, so I felt a shock in my stomach. My heart started pounding a little. I looked outside, no footprints, no sign of anyone. I walked around the house checking the doors from the outside. All the locks were intact. Just turned to the unlocked position. It was almost impossible for them all to open on their own. I tried each mechanism and they worked perfectly. At that point I felt doubtful. I wondered if I had been so tired the night before that I had forgotten to lock them after installing them. It seemed unlikely, but I tried to brush it off. I go through each door again, locking them carefully. I make sure everything is secure before I leave work that day. That night, I come home and double check the locks. Everything is fine. Everything is locked as I left it. I made dinner, watched a bit of TV and decided to call it an early night. I was still exhausted from moving. Before going to bed I walked around the house one more time, checking each knob, turning each key, confirming it was locked. The click of the lock was so soothing. I felt a sense of control, and then I went to bed still a little nervous but determined to ignore it. Around 2 a.m. I woke up to the click sounding like a key turning the lock. I jumped up in bed, my heart was pounding. I stood there in the dark listening to another soft click coming from the kitchen door. I swung my legs out of bed and ran towards the kitchen, not even bothering to put on shoes or a robe. As I moved I heard the unmistakable sound of a door opening. It wasn't loud, but into the silence of the night, every little sound amplified. My mouth went dry. I turned on the hallway light and grabbed the first thing I saw, a broom leaning against the wall. I walked into the kitchen, shake the broom handle. The kitchen door opened a few inches. I expected to see someone there, but the doorway was empty. I looked through the crack, turned on the back porch light and saw nothing. No one was outside. I couldn't explain the chill that spread through me. The lock was still intact. No sign of forced entry. I moved the door back and forth, checking to see how smoothly it swung. Everything was normal except for the fear that tightened in my stomach. I closed the door and locked it. Then I checked the other doors. They were all closed but not locked. The banging house, the strangeness of everything. Someone or something had unlocked the lock without force. I almost wanted to call the landlord right then and there, but it was the middle of the night. I decided to lock everything and go back to bed. It wasn't easy. I continued staring at the ceiling, wondering what I missed the next morning. When I woke up feeling stressed and tired, the sun was shining through the window and I realized I couldn't hear any more sounds. After locking everything I got up and walked around the house and found all the doors still locked the way I left them a few hours ago, which gave me a little relief. My mind started to rationalize it as a fault in the lock. I decided to change it completely. I removed the kitchen door lock and replaced it with a higher quality model from my workshop. I spent a few hours making sure everything was perfectly aligned. By the end of the day I felt more confident. On the third night I tried to go about my routine without thinking too much about the previous events. I cooked, eat and tried to watch a comedy show to calm down. Around 11 o'clock I checked the locks as usual. All 4 doors were locked tight. I went to bed with a slight headache, probably due to stress. Around 3 a.m.